talking about fan now, we're going to see a first-timer go from the stands to the Super Bowl and Jalen Hurts. And then we got the old-timer in Patrick Mahomes. But he's hurt going to face a team in the Eagles who has never been there, at least Jalen Hurts. And also you got the narrative, can a rushing quarterback win? And those are the real-life showdowns. But tonight we're here to build an interesting showdown on DraftKings, and we put a twist on it. So I just want to give you guys a quick introduction to how this is going to work, and then we'll get right into lineup builders just so we can save as much time and have as much fun and optimize it the best we can. So here's what we're going to do. Each of us is going to build a showdown lineup for the same contest, and then whoever finishes higher between the three of us will get a prize. And I want to kind of keep that under wraps. That's kind of the comeback story that you guys got to come back for to find out what that prize is. But we're going to give away something kind of cool here at the conclusion of our own personal contest. But the interesting thing about this is we're all in the same contest, so we're still cheering for each other to do well, although we still want to beat each other. So there's like a competition within a competition. It's almost like we're the greatest tag team in the world, but we're also entered in the Royal Rumble. So it's like we're working together, but we're not working together. And first up, Gov is going to go. Now, what's interesting is Gov is probably the most seasoned DraftKings player of anyone, the most prepared strategically for the structure of a showdown, as he's probably won the most this year on a showdown between the three of us, but has not looked at pricing because he did a deep dive into NBA. So we're all going to go on mute, and then Gov's going to walk you through his process, and then we're going to repeat with Donnie and myself, and then at the end we'll have a roundtable discussion of what we like, what we don't like, and kind of compare and contrast and kind of give out what we think are the favorites and some of the more advantageous things that could happen with each lineup. So go ahead, Gov, take it away.
Thank you, Logan. Like he said, I have not looked at salaries once. And right now, I'm looking and I've seen guys way higher than 16.5 at captain. Like, getting to Mahomes and Hurts, that's nothing. That's not even, this is going to be a lot easier to build than I would have first thought. My first thought. Doesn't look like I'm going to have to spend so much up top where I'm going to need a bunch of punt plays. So, let's get into thoughts on the Super Bowl. I know what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a lineup against what I want to happen. Because that way, if the Super Bowl is crap and I'm sad at the outcome, I probably won some money on DraftKings. So here's what we're going to do. I want Kansas City to win this game. I know anyone who's listened to this podcast earlier. At this point, the best outcome is we get Mahomes the GOAT forever talk for the rest of the time in the offseason. So I'm going to go against that. We're going to build a 4-2 or a 5-1 Philly stack. I haven't decided yet. If we're going to do that, I want to target the wide receiver core because the corners for Kansas City have not been good to fantasy receivers this year. So first things first, A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith. Who's the best captain? I personally think that it's the Super Bowl and they're going to prioritize their main guys. So my thought is A.J. Brown at captain. And that's what I'm going to start with. If you go A.J. Brown at captain, you have to go Jalen Hurts. So there's my first two starting spots in the lineup. Now, if I just look at straight up, right off the bat, raw stats, DVP, with fantasy points in mind, I think the next position I want is probably a Kansas City Chief. And it looks like it's the close, short run game and screen game. So now my decision. Jerick McKinnon, who's been dudding because of Pacheco, and now Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back, or Tony with Hardman put on IR? And I'm a sucker for an old vet in a Super Bowl. Give me McKinnon. He's got to go in the lineup. Now, half the lineup done. Still plenty of money to spend. So,
Gov, look at that smile. I have to
the man's beautiful. The man's beautiful.
Okay, take it away. I just had to mention the smile.
No, it's all good. Okay, so I still have plenty of money to spend. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to jam in raw points. So now the next question. Mahomes or Kelsey? And I think the best way to get different is to not play Mahomes. So we're going to put Travis Kelsey in this lineup. Now, that spent some money. Now I need to find my punt play. Now I need to find a good sub 10% owned. Not many people are going to play this guy in a huge amount. Cheap. I mean, if I'm going with a huge Philly stack, why not just give Boston Scott another touchdown? Boston Scott. That leaves me 4,600. Now, there's literally 1,000 choices. I could go Tony or Sky Moore if I wanted a 3-3. I could just add in the Philly kicker and say they're scoring a bunch of points. Or I could make a pivot somewhere. But let's see. Well, that is interesting. I think I might have found another pivot. And you know what? This one actually makes sense to just do, I think. So I'll talk about Noah Gray right now, because he's the other cheap option that I like right off the bat.
Shout out to my hometown.
Hey, that's fine by me. It's like, he is the other cheap option that I would point out with the tight end usage by Mahomes, especially if he has any kind of hobbling, which I didn't see really much of it, if anything, in the AFC title game. So I could switch out Boston Scott with Gray and then also get different by going double tight end and then getting off McKinnon.
You do know he was their emergency quarterback, so it would just be funny for you not to play Mahomes and play Noah Gray. I just want to mention that.
Oh, that would be absolutely hilarious, actually. Ho, ho. Hey, maybe. No. Yes. What do we got? No, I think I will just go a little generic. We're going to keep McKinnon. We're going to keep Boston Scott. We've got 40. Let's see, whatever it was. Sure, I remember.
4,600.
Yep. Let's see. I'm just going to try to think. In this range, who is my person who gets the most points? Now, here's the crazy thought. Because if I'm going McKinnon and Kelsey without Mahomes, maybe I go the Eagles defense. No, that's just stupid. I'll just go Jake Elliott. Because kickers, people don't play kickers as much as they should in Showdown, really. Like, they get decent ownership, and they all have great floors. Like, who else in a normal football game actually gets 9 or 10 points other than the guy who goes off and catches the touchdowns, the quarterback, or a kicker?
It correlates, I'll say that.
And that is my first lineup built for the week. And first look is going in. That's what you guys getting. Lock it up.
I don't know if you can pull that up really fast or have it open on another tab just so we can compare at the end. If you want to do that.
That would be good. I actually see it's the only 3 entry max I entered, so it's not that hard to find, I don't think, but that's not a bad idea as well. But I'll go ahead and build my lineup, and then Donnie, we can build yours after that if you're all set.
Yep, I'll be fine.
Let me make sure I get the right one here, but I just said this would be easy, and of course I jinxed myself. It's got to be these, right? Yeah. Yep. All right. So I'm going to do this a bit different than Gov. What I'm going to do is I'll put all the players in, and I'll walk you through why I chose the players I did.
All right.
So I'll quickly tell you what I'm doing, and then I'll walk you through the whole build as a whole. So what I want is Travis Kelce up top, Mahomes, Hurts, Clyde, the best player in there that could do it without Mahomes, with the highest upside, Tony, because he just gets so many jet sweeps. That leaves me just enough to get what I think is going to be the number 1 target for the Eagles over the middle, and Dallas Goedert. So Dallas Cowboys did not make the playoffs, but we do got a Dallas in the Super Bowl. It is Dallas Goedert.
See, if you're willing to take the shot on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that's juicy. That's very juicy. I don't hate that.
On my personal lineups, no, I don't. For fairness, I'm not going to change this lineup. The only way we would be able, I didn't cover this in the rules, so I should mention, the only way we can make a change in the lineups is if there's a major injury that shakes things up completely. Because I just want to keep transparency. So if like Patrick Mahomes, like falls down and injures himself on the way to the plane, I'm not going to force somebody to keep Mahomes in their lineup. But it has to be a switch of the same position. So if Mahomes got hurt, you have to play, Chad Henne or Jalen Hurts. You can't then go to a wide receiver just to keep things even. So, but I want to say why I did this, because I don't think there's that many viable captains. And personally, I think you should play it safe with your captains because it literally is double the points. And a lot of people are going to be like, well, I want to play A.J. Brown, or they're going to say, I want to play Smith and Kelce and Mahomes, and I just want to get as much offense as possible. And so they're going to jam in like a Sky Moore at captain, or they're going to jam in a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or maybe even a Tony. But I just want the highest upside players in my captain. I think Kelce has the highest upside, even more than Mahomes, especially given the ankle, and we might see less running from him. So Kelce has the highest upside. So give me Kelce in the captain spot. I think this I believe Rich Reborg said this is the first time that 2 top 3 offenses have faced each other in the playoffs in the modern era of football. Like, we've seen top 5 offenses, but we haven't seen the top 3 offenses ever face each other. And I believe this is the first time we've seen a number 1 seed and a number 1 seed face each other in like 10 years. So I think that's going to lead offense heavy. So I'm glad to see Gov went with a kicker over the defense because I do think we'll see a lot of points. I bet it in the prop, if you guys saw last year when me and Gov went through my props. I do think both quarterbacks is definitely viable, especially considering they both run. I think Jalen Hurts is a cheat code in today's lineup because of the rushing upside. And I think everyone's going to over evaluate his injury and assume, well, his throwing arm isn't great. They also weren't pushed in the playoffs at all this season. They played the Giants and in a very banged up offensive team with the 49ers losing so many quarterbacks this year. I think when they're actually pushed the 2-week break, I think we see the best version of the Eagles offense in this game. Both quarterbacks are going to be willing to rush because it's the last game of the season regardless. So I like having both quarterbacks. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was not just activated off IR. He was also one of the first players taken off of the injury report of all the starters. And let's not forget, he was a starter in, the start of the season. Go, or anyone can comment at the end here, but let's not mistake it. He is cheaper than Watkins right now, who at best has been a third or fourth wide receiver for the Eagles. Clyde was a starting running back, and McKinnon has proven to be hurt at least at portions of this playoff. So I wouldn't be surprised if Clyde comes back and takes over that McKinnon pass role quite quickly. Tony, I think, has the only chance to score out without Mahomes involved. Like, I don't think we see many rushing touchdowns, and if we do, I think Tony probably has the highest upside to get one of those off the jet sweep. And then Dallas Goedert, I think they're just going to attack over the middle. I think people forget how good he is. I would actually rank the Eagles passing, like in terms of weapons of importance. I actually think it's Devontae Smith, Goddard, then A.J. Brown. A close second and third, but I actually think Dallas Goedert is the second best option offensively on that team as a pass catcher. So I'm a big Dallas guy, so I had to go there. Are you ready, Donnie?
I am ready.
All right, let me put this through, and I'll load up your lineup, and you can go.
I do have at least one player who's going to be, or two guys who are going to be completely different from what you guys are playing with, which could easily make or break this. All right, for captain, I'm going to just go with who I think the safest guy is with Mahomes. And I also want Kelsey in there as well. I think that's the best connection in this whole game. There's no debate in my opinion on it. Kelsey's had a great playoffs in general, and the Chiefs receivers. Now I know it's been over a week now. It's going to be about 2 weeks since the last game, but they were known to be a little banged up. And correct me if I'm wrong. They've been hurt for the last couple weeks. Am I right on that?
Correct.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with another Chief right after this. Not either of you guys even touched on the name. I want Sky Moore in there. I mean, he's had a decent amount of work this postseason. I know, especially last game, it was because of injuries, but he definitely is such a good athlete to take jet sweeps if they're not comfortable with Tony or Hardman doing it. Cheap guy. I think it makes a lot of sense to bring him into the lineup just out of a necessity of they need to have people probably swapping out a lot for receivers. He's gotten a decent amount of snap counts this playoffs as well. So I think I'm only going one Eagle in here, and that's Kenneth Gainwell. He's had about the same amount of rush attempts as Sanders. He had the best game out of the running backs, I'd say. But I like his attempts, no matter how it looks. I'm pretty sure he has the best yards per attempt as well this postseason. I think I saw that when I was looking through everything. he has a little bit of a receiving threat in there, which is nice, even though he didn't get much work in the regular season. But I think it's a lot better to play him than go with the Boston Scott just because he played against the Giants. He's my favorite Eagles running back for this game.
I will say, just to give you a momentary pause, Donnie, it is similar to Pacheco and McKinnon. I mean, to me, Gainwell and Sanders, they do things very differently, but they both have very specific roles.
Yeah, like I know that Gainwell is going to get snaps.
Yeah,
you're not wrong on that. Like, he's clearly part of their game plan.
maybe even more so.
I think Sanders is such a better running back too. I don't get why he doesn't get more work. I get the running back by committee thing, but Sanders is such a good running back in my opinion.
It's weird. It's weird because they weren't running the running back by committee early in the season. It's basically like now, after they use Sanders and Hurts running all the time early, they need to run Gainwell 10, 12 times a game to keep the run game efficient.
Yeah, but if you just did it earlier in the year, then Sanders would be much more ready to play now.
Agreed. That coaching staff error at that point.
I don't.
But at least they are smart enough to know what they need to do now.
Right. I don't want to sabotage your life, so I'm going to put a sticky note on this one because I do think we should bring that back up in a roundtable discussion.
Yes.
Continue. Go on.
All right, Logan, can you get the Gainwell off the screen just so I can see pricing a little bit?
Oh, got you. I forgot that you don't have the.
Yeah, I have. I can't even get into DraftKings, sadly.
So I was going to mute myself, but what I'll do is I'll stay on in case you need me to look at something. So go ahead.
That's a decent amount remaining. Can you show me where the defenses are at just to see?
I know they're going to go highly underutilized. I don't even know where they're.
They're in the 3,600 range. Yeah.
The Eagles are 36. Like honestly, I do not know the pricing of. So they're $200 apart.
I'm comfortable going Kansas City's defense here. I know that I expect Chris Jones to at least get a sack. That leaves me with 10.
Yeah, I'll just mention, Donnie, because I don't think you saw the last show. Me and Gov did cover. Snead is coming back for the Chiefs. So they are getting healthier on defense too.
Yeah. Can you do me a favor and go to Kansas City and I want to see more of their playmakers because I might get off more, go to a cheaper guy and just throw Hurts in at this point because it's so close.
Okay, sorry.
You need $500.
Yep. It's not that.
Can you find $500?
That's what I want to try and do. If I can find $500 and get off Sky Moore, that'd be perfect. Now, I do like Sky Moore this game. I've liked him pretty much. Oh.
Double shitty running backs.
Oh.
Justin Watson is the cheaper Sky Moore.
He is. Some people think he's a touchdown guy. Like I know a lot of people bet him anytime touchdown.
We're not supposed to be discussing this.
You're right. Hometown boy sitting there. You're right.
Yeah. Can we look at Noah Gray's workload just throughout this playoffs?
I don't know if it's playoffs. I think it's just regular season.
Yeah.
No, playoffs would be starting 20 and 21. Yep.
Yeah.
20, yep.
He's gotten a target or two.
Does it make sense to?
I did want to say, just because I know you don't know pricing, their other tight end came back as well, who hadn't played since like week 3. Forget his name now. I wrote it down in the Discord earlier. Why am I blanking on the guy's name? He's like $200 too, but he did play. Yeah.
Jody Fortson, right?
Jody Fortson, yeah. So he ended up playing for the first time in like 10 weeks against Cincinnati. So 18 snaps. So
he was on the field, but I don't like that he's not getting targets.
No, I'm just saying it might eat into Noah Gray, or people will be afraid of Noah Gray, which makes him a good play. So I just want to mention that is like a thing because I know you don't know pricing. There you go.
I don't see how I can realistically make up this money unless I moved off something else.
No, if anything, you should go up from Sky Moore and go down off of Jalen Hurts to someone else too.
You could swap Kelsey and Mahomes at cap. You could do that. That'd be the only viable. Like, I'm not even talking like you should do it. I'm just saying from a robotic standpoint. I think.
Right. No, it's just less I know. Yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get off Hurts and get off Moore and move up to other places. I'm going Kansas City heavy. I know that.
Right. I expect that.
Just throw Pacheco in there. I mean,
wow, you haven't played Pacheco all year. This is.
I've been off Pacheco. I don't even like Pacheco that much, but he's getting.
I was really trying not to comment anymore, but you really blew my socks off on that one, Donnie.
I'm willing to throw away my bias on Pacheco. I don't think Pacheco's very good, but I'm willing to throw it away because I know he's getting the workload. It's just to say that I'm not going to play him because of me not thinking he's that great is too much.
Hey, he's learning DFS. I love this kid.
Throw Philly in there just so I can see it. I might get another Philly guy with 73. Oh, yeah, I'll just throw Goddard in there. I love tight ends. Tight ends are so great to have.
900 left on the table.
Which, by the way, now that we are kind of in the discussionary mode, leaving money on the table, I think, is the best way to get different.
Especially with one of the higher-owned captains like Mahomes, it will be a different lineup.
I agree, because this is the week where most casuals play Showdown, Donnie, because this is the only way you can play, right? So people that don't even normally play Showdown, people that normally don't even play DraftKings, like there are people that just play best ball, right? And maybe their best ball did bad, like our basketball best ball did bad. They're like, well, this is the big game. You know, Bud Light and Miller Light and Coors Light, and I saw an advertisement here and there and everywhere. I'm just going to jump on this website. Oh, well, I can only pick this one game. And then so they're like, I'm just going to pick all the marquee guys. And what do people do when they pick the marquee guys? They try to use up all the salary. It's just human nature.
Right.
You know,
and I tried to do that with Hurts as well. Which Hurts was the only player I'd be willing to do that for just because of the amount of,
right.
attempts.
But even that was your first instinct. It's like, well, can I get better? Just like if I gave a 5-year-old $5 at the dollar store, what's the likelihood they're going to come up with any money left over? Very highly unlikely, It almost doesn't matter salary. It's just that advantageous. Oh, I got this much to spend. Okay, I'm spending this much. That's what a lot of people do.
Well, I doubt that Kansas City's defense is going to get much ownership at all. But if I'm already putting so much into Kansas City stock, why not just go Kansas City defense as well?
Yeah,
and just be sense. Different.
Yeah, like you have a different lineup, even though you have what is probably going to be either the highest or the second highest owned captain.
So why don't we do this? We'll just pull up Donnie's just as a point of reference. So what's the one mistake we all made, you think, or potentially might have made, that nobody took at all? Is it like of all the guys that nobody took in their lineup, where's the biggest glaring weakness?
I don't know if we have enough of the Kansas City receiving core.
That's what I was thinking too.
Like you got off Sky Moore. We don't have Juju.
We don't have.
You have Tony, but I think we don't have. Between the three of us, we covered the running backs.
Yeah, just to get on that Tony thing. Logan also took Tony with the jet sweeps in mind, not with the receiving game in mind.
Right.
To be honest, I was considering him with the short passing game and screen game too. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was on Sky more, so obviously Tony comes in my mind too. But that's what I don't like about the Tony play personally. It's like Scott, if there is a injured receiving core, Sky Moore is going to be on the field, and he might take the Tony role, and Tony has to go outside.
Yeah. So, Donnie, before I forget, we had like a big prop show, me and Gov, and you couldn't join us. I know you listened to a portion of that show. Was there anything from that show that you listened to that you want to comment on? Was there a fun prop? But did you want to mention about responsible gambling? Because I thought it was some of our best content, and it's like the end of the year, and I think this is the point where you had your bankroll, you had your fun, you made your profits, you might be hurting. And so, like, I just feel like advice is very pivotal at this point.
Yeah.
You know, we have a new football league coming. How much money do you save for that? Do you play that? You know, do you try other sports? Like, you know, because I feel like you're the perfect guy to ask this, because there might be a lot of people that have tried fantasy for the first time or DraftKings for the first time. So, like, what was your kind of takeaway from any of that conversation we had a couple days ago?
The only thing I will say on that, there wasn't any specific prop bets that I saw or anything, but I will say, you know, this being the last week of the NFL, Super Bowl, big fun week, there's going to be a lot of bets placed, obviously, and there's going to be people for a multitude of reasons. If your reason is to chase what you've lost this season, that's an awful reason. Just bet what you have, but you can reasonably. That's all I'll say on that.
Fair point. I like it. Sometimes the shortest and the sweetest advice is the best advice. Now, I mentioned for fun at the end of that show, Donnie, just to, like, when you think about the Super Bowl, like, what fun correlation, as we just built lineups to have correlation, but what's like the one thing this weekend that you're looking forward to in correlation with football? We all know we're football fans. Is it the food? Is it family? Is there a tradition you go to? Is there like something you like to do? Is it Christmas morning, or is it just another football game for you?
I mean, I celebrate my birthday Super Bowl still. So
yeah,
that's always been something I've done. I know it got pushed back. Sadly, my birthday was last week, but got pushed back. I'm fine with celebrating a week later to enjoy a Super Bowl party and a birthday party.
I was say, are you still going to keep your tradition? Are you going to celebrate your birthday on the Super Bowl still?
Yeah, I still do that.
That's fantastic.
Beautiful.
So does that involve like friends, family, the whole thing, or do you like, or is that just like something you specifically do with a certain group of high school friends or college friends, or like? Well, I'm really interested in that concept. That's awesome.
Well, since the move, obviously, I moved, it changes a little bit, but it used to always be with family and friends.
Great. Yeah, I mentioned in that last show, I actually like being like the sports guy, or like, you know, kind of that like moniker at the party. Because like for me, I've watched every week of the NFL season, Donnie. So like for me, it's like the culmination of like, this is why I watch it. I watched all the other, you know, sporting events, so I'm ready for this moment. So for me, it's like now I get to like classes in session. I get to teach all the casuals to love the sport that I love. You know, they like get to live vicariously through me. You know, I remember my ex-girlfriend's sisters were like, "We love watching sports with you because we'll never care about sports as much as you do, but watching it through your eyes." And like how I have evolved, how I started to play DraftKings and using that and just the strategy and like the game theory, you know. Because one of the brother-in-laws was huge into like playing board games, and he's just like, I'm not into sports, but like the theories of DFS and like how you talk about the game is like, you know, we related on those issues. So it's just funny how like even something like the Super Bowl has a little bit of everything for everyone. I just love that.
Yeah, it's also just like fun to show off like nonsensical knowledge on the sport that makes no sense to a casual fan. But if you could like say something and then that same exact thing happens right after and they just look at you and like, yeah, I feel good about that.
Right. So before we get back to the game, Gov, I just wanted to give the people a different perspective that you don't normally hear on some of these sports shows, just to be a little different. Is there any kind of advice like that you have? Any go-to family traditions? Any like tidbits you like to share on the Super Bowl?
Honestly, no, because there was a good portion of my life where I was working every Sunday, and that included Super Bowl Sunday. So,
Right.
like, you don't make a tradition when you're at work till 9 o'clock at night and you miss the game.
Right.
So just anytime I get the ability to watch the game with people is great.
Is great. So do you think the pushback helped you then? Like, would you have been screwed had they not pushed the destination and the date of the Super Bowl back?
No,
You would have been all right?
not now, because I
Right.
have those things set up trying to have more Sundays off and at least the nights where the night games are off. But like for the 13 years I lived in California, like the Super Bowl in California started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm usually not out of work till 5 or 6. Like, yeah.
Let me do this. Is there anything you guys want to mention about lineup builders or like the construction of our lineups? Because I do have an interesting close to the show, but it's a bit more serious. So I want to get some more fun stuff out of the way first before I bring on this interesting take that I have to kind of close up shop.
I'm being baffled by a lot of stuff in NBA right now, so like I'm ready for whatever you got. Nothing can surprise me now with everything I'm looking at right now. So like I don't even know I don't even know what to think. Let's do this.
We did put a pin in the Kenneth Gainwell conversation earlier.
Yes,
we did. But I want to go back to Gov's point too after that and talk about some of these cross-sport prop bets, stuff that you don't normally see. And if you like that concept or hate it, because there's a lot of NBA, NFL kind of crossover props, and I got a take on that. I don't know if I like it. But let's go back to that Gainwell discussion. Do you think that Gainwell has overtaken Sanders?
I know the carries are about the same, and like I don't remember what Sanders was. They're both good, obviously. But Gainwell's averaging I think it was 6 yards per carry in the playoffs. Even if he isn't the main back, if he has the hot hand, he has the hot hand, and that's just how it is.
Right.
Running backs, especially nowadays.
I still feel like Sanders is the main back though in this.
I do as well. But
I would agree.
And I don't think it's 1 and 1A. I think it will be 1 and 2 in a clear path. But it's just maybe they've just been saving Sanders so that when you get to this Super Bowl, you just go back to what was killing early in the season and you run Sanders and you run Hurts.
And they've been winning convincingly as well.
Right. That was kind of my point when I built my lineup is it the Eagles kind of okay, so everyone's Sanders is still the lead guy, or is he, because of the production? They haven't been pushed. They literally had the most convenient route to the Super Bowl. That's not their fault.
And they won their way.
Right. Convincingly. That was a great word, Donnie, you had there. It was but that speaks to dominance, does it not? They won handedly. So we're kind of the Eagles are this or they're that. They won handedly. What happens if they handle the Chiefs in the Super Bowl?
I will say this. I like teams that are tested going throughout the season and through the postseason. And have we really seen the Eagles tested at all this year outside of Hurts being hurt? I don't know the answer to that.
Agreed. They really haven't been tested. They've had, like Logan said, pretty much the easiest path to the Super Bowl as long as they could play their game. And they did all year.
That's not the insult
when Hurts was hurt.
It seems insulting to say, they've had an easy run, they had an easy schedule. It's not supposed to sound insulting to say that. They made their run. They played with the schedule they had and played it the best they could. And they looked like the best team this year. Yeah.
No, everything has gone well for them. You can't say anything else. Philly has looked good all year. Yeah. And they are now in the Super Bowl. So
To me, it's like saying if I'm Bronny James and LeBron James is my father, yeah, my life is probably easier in a lot of ways. Like I was given a pathway that is probably, going to be supremely easy to get on television opposed to, a kid who might want to be a journalist in rural Connecticut, but it's not Bronny's fault. It was just genetic. So like the Eagles' schedule was just the Eagles' schedule. They didn't say, hey, the Packers are gonna have a down year and Aaron Rodgers is just not gonna look like Aaron Rodgers this year. And some of the stuff like the Denver Broncos game with the Cardinals and like Monday Night Football, I think week 17 was supposed to be a big game, or maybe it was the Rams where Matthew Stafford was hurt. I can't remember now, but like some of these games on these schedules when they made the schedule looked really good, but because of injury or because of circumstance or different forecasting throughout the year, games change, and the Eagles had an easy route. That's not to blame anyone. That's just a fact. It's just a factor of football. Another factor that I find interesting is, do you really think there is a narrative that a running quarterback cannot win in the big game? Like, do you think that's a real thing?
I mean, to an extent, if you're a pure running quarterback and you have no real talent of throwing a football, then I can see what the point of saying that is. But to say Lamar Jackson's a talented thrower, Jalen Hurts is a very good thrower of the football. I don't think it matters that he's a main run first guy, because I know that Jalen Hurts can go and throw the ball 50 yards to Devontae Smith. It doesn't affect. I don't think that affects and even if he loses, to say that he loses because he's a running quarterback, to me that means nothing. I think if they lose because they're the worst team that day.
Yeah. Gov, you want to hear the other stupid narrative that's going around at the last couple hours? If Patrick Mahomes, because the narrative about the Eagles is, oh, well, the Eagles won't win because rushing quarterbacks just don't win. Like Lamar Jackson's never going to win one.
Right.
Like the heavy run quarterbacks are just never going to win a Super Bowl because they're just not pocket passers. But the Patrick Mahomes naysayers, if he loses, will say, well, see, Pat, you guys overrated Patrick Mahomes. He's no better than Matthew Stafford.
I don't know about that one.
Like, that just seems crazy, does it not? Like, I'm a huge Stafford.
I don't know about that, considering they just gave him the MVP.
Right, exactly. So, like, that's what pisses me off is how we have to make these stands. And to correlate it back to our showdown lineups, it's like, is Travis Kelce a better captain than Mahomes? We don't know. If we knew, we would all play that captain, right? We just play what we think is the highest upside. So I don't like this whole like, oh, well, if Mahomes loses, he's Stafford. Because isn't that kind of insulting to Patrick Mahomes and Matthew Stafford? It's like saying that Aaron Rodgers cannot be a top 10 quarterback because he only won one Super Bowl. It's like there are other factors involved in winning Super Bowls. Tom Brady is not the GOAT of the football, the quarterback position, just because he won Super Bowls. Or like I heard a professional bettor put this a good way with Pat Mayo when they talked about LeBron James against Michael Jordan. Because LeBron broke the record, or they were talking about Bill Russell, or just some of the mistakes the media is going to make. And it basically was summarized this way. It's like we all want to say, oh, he's the best, or this is the captain we should choose because he has the highest upside. But like Donnie said, it's kind of day to day. If they played this game 5 times, we might see 5 different outcomes. So when you say who is the best NBA player, are we saying in today's era? Are we saying in Michael's era? Are we saying in their prime? Or are we saying longevity-wise? Because you could argue that LeBron James is the best because he's done an extraordinarily great job of taking care of his body, where Michael had probably the best prime of any athlete ever. right? But just didn't take care of his body. Tiger Woods the same way. Like Michael would smoke cigars and stay up till midnight and literally got kicked out of the league because of gambling obligations, and then just didn't take good care of his body and decided to go play baseball so he could rest his knees. Like, so there are so many different factors to deciding whether a game goes this way or that way, you know? And I don't always think it is even up to the players. Like, for example, the Super Bowl has the longest halftime, rest period. Who does that favor? Guess what? We don't really know because the sample size is not large enough. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Like,
how much do we value the experience that the Chiefs have throughout the past, 5 years of being top tier team, compared to the Eagles, who this is their first real playoff run. I know they made the playoff last year, I think it was, and then got decimated. Is that going into your thought? Because it's going into my thought process a little bit.
It's going into my thought process, but kind of the opposite approach, Donnie. I remember to talk about different sports, to correlate it a bit different is I remember a lot of the the Little League World Series, like they were saying that some of those kids, like if they've never been there, the like 11 or 12-year-olds, they're almost just so excited to be there and just like living in the moment and just being in that current moment that like the pressure doesn't get to them the same way as it would an experience like Japanese team or an experienced Korean, 12-year-old, travel team, because it's not like business as usual. Like for some reason, it's almost like they have an easier time blocking it out sometimes because the excitement kind of blocks out the pressure. So I do think it affects people differently, and maybe Hurts plays looser because of it,
Well, I wonder if the coaching changes because, they have a young head coach who's never done this before. I wonder if he gets into himself and tries to be too aggressive or isn't aggressive enough trying to be conservative.
Right. Or maybe it happens the opposite way, Donnie, where it's like Andy Reid really wants to stick it to the Eagles. Like he's never publicly said that he was ashamed he got fired or he was angry he got fired from the Eagles. But maybe he does have some resentment, Maybe he's like, those fuckers let me go and they shouldn't have let me go. And he tries too hard to beat his former employees. Like you never really know what makes a team tick. I find it all fascinating. It's all intertwined,
Yeah, it's interesting to look at the psyche of the players and the coaches going into the game, especially with like they're completely different. Where it's the experienced team, I think the Super Bowl officially locks in the whole dynasty thing. Not that it matters. They're in their second Super Bowl in 5 years. Or third, sorry.
Well, here's another weird thing that no one ever talks about, but it's a true thing. You guys probably know that the Lions have never really been to the Super Bowl, but one of the big things that we do is every year for Thanksgiving, we have concerts and we kind of have our like own big Super Bowl halftime for Thanksgiving for the Lions. And Matthew Stafford said that not only was the halftime longer and messed him up, but the pyrotechnics and the smoke in the dome really messed him up. Let's say Rihanna has some kind of big fireworks show and stuff like that. Like all those small little edges might mean a whole lot, You never know what goes in and how it affects, different teams.
Well, it also, I think, helps that it's been talked about a little bit, but to have a former assistant be the guy you're playing in the Super Bowl,
yeah,
he knows exactly what you're thinking going into this game, most likely. I don't know if he was he a part of their coaching staff in any of the Super Bowls? Do we know?
I don't believe so.
I don't believe so.
I don't either. But it's still interesting to look at. He knows what Andy Reid's thought process is.
He definitely does know that.
I don't think anybody doesn't. He's pretty open about it.
Yeah.
I feel like we've all seen it before. We know what he's going to want to do. We know he's going to want to utilize a screen game against a good pass rush. It's just who's going to get it and how effective are the players going to be in that game plan.
So can I talk about something that no one's talked about, but I think really affected the last time that the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl? And I want to go back to when the Chiefs played the Cincinnati Bengals. And remember how Mahomes looked really bad? And everyone's like, the offense just doesn't look right. And that was the time that Andy Reid just didn't look like him and Patrick Mahomes were on the same page, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember why that might have been? Because it got mentioned on one podcast of like the 13 I listened to this week. And I'm like, I got to bring this up on my podcast.
Well, I remember the Super Bowl being just Mahomes being great and everything else falling apart.
Right. The offensive line was bad. And it was like Mahomes and then everyone else was.
I mean, I remember at the end of the first quarter, I said to everyone who was sitting around me, like, I don't see how the Chiefs can even come out and stand to win this game if this is how they continue. And they didn't stand a chance.
So, Go, do you remember the big story 2 hours before that game?
No.
Okay, so we saw Hamlin, right, with his emotional injury recovery, the good story. So this is kind of interesting that I'm going to bring up this bad story, but if you guys remember, 2 hours before that game, Andy Reid found out his son was arrested.
Oh, yeah.
For drunk driving. It later then came out that we found out after the game, but actually Andy found out that not only was his son involved in drunk driving, but he had killed a person. So all I'm saying is, like, everyone always puts that game on Mahomes and like, oh, Mahomes played this way, but they still lost. Or this happened. And, but we got to remember, their head coach, Andy Reid, the mastermind of that offense, the engine, literally found out that not only was his son involved in an accident, his son was at fault. Oh yeah, and his son, who had struggled with this addiction, had potentially killed somebody. Oh, and now in a half an hour you got to go play a game. So I don't bring that up to like be tongue in cheek and like, oh, and have a moral discussion. I bring that up to say we never know what goes into these players' mindsets before the game. Like, we can all be sick that it's called the Kelsey Bowl this year, right? But I mentioned it on, I think, one of our first shows. Travis Kelsey and the other Kelsey, I'm blanking on name. Jason have probably gotten so many weird family requests or like congratulations or like weird out of the ordinary family requests that are just like probably playing somewhat on their mind. Now, can they block it out? Maybe. But those are the things, like when we build a lineup that we just don't know. Like, that's part of the gamble. And I just want to mention that as like not an excuse, but like a reason. And sometimes we don't always know those reasons. And that's why like sports documentaries are so interesting after the fact. So I just wanted to mention that really quickly. That was maybe why the Chiefs had struggled in that playoff. So maybe they play looser, to Donnie's point, to come full circle on that, now that, that's kind of behind them. Anything else I'm missing about the Super Bowl that needs to be mentioned?
I mean, I feel like we could talk all night about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and like I'm going to probably be starting building all my lineups for it tomorrow. But
we don't know. The two best teams this year.
I will say, when it comes to our three lineups collectively,
yep,
I'm the one who's taking the stand with the Philly. And as I said, I wanted to build a KC lineup just like you guys did.
Yeah.
But I went against my gut. I'm going to be the contrarian one.
Yeah. This game, in my opinion, there are four possible outcomes in this game. Blowout for the Chiefs, close game for the Chiefs. blowout for the Eagles, close game for the Eagles. Anything can happen. It's just who shows up, how it goes, who has control of the clock, and all that.
So, but here's what I want to do to close up shop. What's the one thing that you guys liked about each lineup? Who do you think's got the advantage? Like, let's end on like some of like if we were the sports book and we had to put odds over under prop bets, like different correlations on our own lines that we built tonight. Like, what's some of the takeaways you would take? One of the takeaways I think Gov already mentioned, so I'll just kind of prime this conversation with. Gov is very high on the Eagles, way higher than me. So if the Eagles have a good playoff game, he's going to beat me for sure.
That's basically the point of my lineup.
Yep.
It's like I think the ownership's going to go to Kelsey. I think if you said who's going to have the higher odds of winning, like I would put your guys' lineups as more of the favorites to win and put me as the underdog.
Yeah. Well, look, let me ask you this, because you had the balls to do it, Gov. How many people do not have a Kelsey in their lineup? I think that makes you extremely different.
No, I have Kelsey, but I don't have Mahomes.
Or sorry, Mahomes. That's what I meant. I just
But
saw this.
still, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. So how many lines don't have Mahomes in them? Like, I know why you do it.
Like, I don't know. Most people, especially optimizers, they might have 90% of their lineups with Mahomes in it.
Yeah.
Well, I like that we all built separate lineups without talking about it really, because all of our lineups are extremely different, which is very interesting.
So what's the one thing we all agree on, though?
We all had a running back from Kansas City. We know the Kansas City running game is going to do something. Or at least collectively, we think that Kansas City running game is going to do something. We don't know if it's Edwards-Helaire, McKinnon, or Pacheco.
Yeah.
But they clearly use the run. Like, Kansas City sneakily uses their run game. And Philly has been getting better with getting healthy later in the season and adding in Ndamukong Suh. So we'll see.
You brought it up, Gov. So who do you think? You have to eat the cheeseburger. You have to be Andy Reid now. Who do you think's the most talented? Not who you think's going to get the most touches. Not who you think Andy Reid's going to like. I want Gov's Laden think on this. You're the head coach. Who is the most talented running back in that room?
Probably Pacheco.
I think it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Wow, I think it's McKinnon.
Interesting.
So we all disagree.
So
we all played different ones because I played McKinnon and he played Logan played Edwards-Helaire, but I played McKinnon and you played Pacheco. But you think McKinnon's more talented and I think Pacheco's more talented, which is really fucking weird.
Donnie, put that on our spread if you can remember that, please.
Okay.
And we'll review that at the end of the Super Bowl. Any other big stands we want
McKinnon versus Pacheco. There we go. Versus Edwards-Helaire. Yeah.
There is something I put in the chat that I want to talk about. If we want to do that.
Because
yeah. I don't want to let you know. Because I feel like I don't want to say anything about that before we can guarantee it.
We could maybe make that work though.
I feel like it would be very fun. I could always talk about it right after.
So as soon as my mom goes home or like you guys' parties wrap up, I can go live.
I was about to say, like, I'll leave for home as soon as the Super Bowl's done, and then we can go live, and I can head back out and party with my friend until like 2:00 in the morning. I can definitely do that because the Super Bowl will be done by 9:00. We can come back. We can do a show. And we can talk it over, and then I can still be out till whatever in the morning.
And really, all it is, and I'm going to be home anyways, is I have to be at the computers because I have to run the platform. But you guys could actually join through your phones if you wanted to.
I could on the drive home. I might.
Right. So like, because I could stream, but
and I'm going to be home. So if we want to commit to a post Super Bowl show, I'm willing to. Sounds like you guys are interested in it. Okay.
Now, I'm not going to lie. I'll be fully transparent. Talk about immediacy. I got to use the restroom, so we can close up shop in the next 5 minutes, or we can keep talking amongst yourselves while I use the restroom. Up to you.
Well, like I said, I think we can hit on so many points for the Super Bowl, but I don't think there's a point of doing it if
we're going to go
none of us know. We've all heard it all. We've been anticipating this for 2 weeks.
It's 2 weeks, yes.
This is 2 weeks for us to make it into 1 hour.
Okay, so let's do some quick hitters. Ready? Go. Okay. Does the Super Bowl go over 45 points? Yes?
Yes,
no?
yes.
Over.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Donnie, does Travis Kelce get 80 yards receiving? Yes or no?
Yes, I love that. Obviously, he's my captain for a reason. I expect
okay, so Donnie, think about one for me. I'm going to go back to Gov here. So Devontae Smith or AJ Brown total yards? Who has more yards?
AJ Brown.
Donnie,
right,
you got one for me?
Yep,
Logan.
I got one.
I was about to say I got one for Logan.
Which team has more sacks, the Chiefs or the Eagles?
Tied.
Ooh.
Who has more rushing yards?
Total as a team?
No. For Logan. Yeah. Actually, total as a team. Who has more rushing yards?
Chiefs.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I actually was like, that's close to be honest.
The Chiefs, because this is why. Because I think their interior run defense is good, but I think someone's going to get out to the outside. I think it's going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He likes to bounce things outside, so I think they're going to break one big. Last time we saw the Chiefs in the playoffs had success, it was Damian Williams, was it not?
I believe so, yeah.
Yep. All right, Gov, I got one for you.
Okay.
You guys keep firing. I'm going to use the restroom because we're going
Which team scores first?
Philly.
I
feel like but I feel like that because of a specific thing. So, who wins the coin toss?
Oh. See, I think the Chiefs will win the coin toss and want to defer it.
See, I think the same thing, which is why I think Philly will score on their first possession.
I think the opposite. I think the Eagles will win it, but they'll put the pressure on Patrick Mahomes.
They'll yeah, okay. Ooh. Okay. Over or under 300 passing yards for Mahomes?
Over.
I
do not see a world where Mahomes doesn't have at least 33 pass attempts.
Where would you set the line for Hurts over under at his just passing yards?
267.
See, and I think I'd go over on that. I don't know if he gets quite to 300, but I think he can get 280. He'll if they're winning, it's probably because he hit a deep ball to someone. If not, he's gonna have to throw because he'll be pushed. So I feel like Hurts is gonna have almost 300 or above 300 passing yards.
Do we have more than 3 turnovers in this game?
Total or just
total?
For one team? Yes. Wait, 3. More than 3? So
more than 3.
I think there might be 3. Like 3 is a good number.
I think 3 is a good number too.
That's tough.
I could see it being 0. I mean,
no, it won't be 0. There's enough chances that a young Devonta Smith in the Super Bowl fucks up. Like, there's no receivers that you can trust for KC. There will be turnovers in that game. Yeah. Edwards-Helaire might fumble with his first week back. Who knows? There are so many different possibilities. I don't think there will be a turnover in that game. Definitely. Okay, so for you, what's a good one?
Since we committed to doing a immediate post game show, what I'm going to do is take the last 15 minutes of the show, and we're actually going to play it back and see how much of this we were right about. So, like, not only will we get an instant game reaction, but we'll actually see if we were right about any of these takes, and I'll kind of break it all up so we can look back at it.
All right. Will there be, for Logan, will there be a non-quarterback MVP?
No. But if there was, and it wasn't Kelsey, who would it be?
For me, we talked about this a little bit before I went live. I think if somebody other than a quarterback wins it, it's going to be one of the D linemen for the Eagles.
Interesting. What do you think, Gov? What do you think's the biggest mistake people will make when it comes to a prop bet or a gambling stand people will make? Like, do you think there'll be too many overs? Do you think people will?
There'll definitely be too many overs. There's always too many overs.
So you think that's like what the sportsbooks will celebrate? Is just like they're pumping out because they're going to lose on.
If this game isn't some spectacular Super Bowl that everyone wants to watch,
right.
Vegas wins.
Like a Patriots Rams Super Bowl.
If this is 10-3, everyone loses except Vegas, because Vegas always wins.
Yeah, I got some unders, but I got way more overs.
Will there be a rushing touchdown by a quarterback?
No.
Yeah. I think there'll actually be two, and before
I think both of them do it. I honestly think Hurts and Mahomes will have a rushing touchdown.
I'll go bolder. I think there'll be two rushing touchdowns by quarterbacks before the second half.
All right. Do you think Mahomes will have more than 5 rush attempts?
More, yes. If you said yardage, Donnie, I don't, because I think what we could see is like a lot of goal line rushes where he like fakes it to Kelsey, and like because people know he wants to go to Kelsey, they'll cloud the middle, and that will allow him just to bootleg out for like either a touchdown or just multiple rushing attempts that way.
All right. I think that there will be, from the Chiefs side, this is just, I know this won't be asked. Actually, I'll say it like this. Do you guys expect a pass attempt from someone other than Mahomes on the Chiefs?
Yes.
Oh, there's definitely a play for it.
There's got to be a play for it.
Philly's got to play for it too, though. Ooh, like, will there be a non-quarterback pass attempt in the whole game?
I think that's a definite yes on my end.
I believe Noah Gray was a college quarterback.
Noah Gray has history at lining up for the quarterback spot for Kansas City. Travis Kelce might run a read option for Kansas City. And, I don't think Andy Reid trusts Kelce to do that anymore. Like a read pass since the interception a couple years ago, I think it was now. So I think Noah Gray's kind of taken over that spot at that dual threat type hybrid quarterback, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call it. They're Taysom Hill guy.
But we do see with the extra week, there is usually a trick. Not saying it will be a pass, but there is usually more trick plays or variations of a trick play, or even the falseness of a trick play, whether that be just kind of a goofy formation, a dance move, a Michael Jackson moonwalk. Like there usually is some kind of variance with the extra week.
I think there's two very creative coaches. Something interesting is going to happen that's going to make us say, whoa or no.
Okay, this leads to the thing. Will there be what's the longest play of this game?
Oh, I'm going to say 46 yards.
I think there's going to be a 60-something plus yarder.
Yeah.
Probably a pass downfield to someone. I don't
I would
know
say 50.
MVS. I don't know AJ Brown. I don't know who. Maybe Kelsey. But I think Kelsey probably goes 20 and then stiff arms a dude and runs it for 60. But like, I think there's going to be like a big. I think there's going to be a huge play that just immediate, no time, 1 minute of possession, 7 points, boom, 2 plays, 70 yards, something like that.
But I could see it from happening from midfield. Is my point. Like if they get to the Chiefs get to midfield really quick, Kelsey strike across the middle, big touchdown. I expect the tight end to. I expect the tight end to have at least, but each tight end to have 30-yard catches.
So here's another fun thing we can do. I'm going to try to get to it quickly. There's some off-season specials right now, and I just want to get your initial reaction to this. DraftKings posted where you think Aaron Rodgers will play this season. Where do you guys think pre-Super Bowl? And then I'll ask you post-Super Bowl. So I'll ask you on the after show whether that changes based on what we hear, because we know guys like Glazer, the Super Bowl media kind of weekend is actually where a lot of deals get done. So I just want to mention that before we wrap up. Where would be your favorite for Aaron Rodgers to play next season?
I think the Jets. I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to be in the same division as Mahomes, to be honest.
If it is the Jets, would you actually bet it at plus 450, Donnie?
At plus 450, I could see myself going max like 75 cents. I don't like any of these type of bets where it's like, oh, where will this guy play next season?
I think he will play with the Raiders. I think he should play with the Buccaneers.
I don't think there's a shot of him playing with the Buccaneers. I think it's too much noise for a team that's already had too much noise.
I don't think so either, but I think he would be better at this point in his career than Tom Brady.
I'd love to see him go to San Francisco, to be honest. Like, I honestly feel like San Francisco would be in the Super Bowl if they weren't on their third string and then fourth string quarterback.
Okay, I think I could be wrong, but I think I heard something about Aaron Rodgers not playing for San Francisco at all. Like, that's not something on his radar at all. Like, he's still so petty over what happened so long ago.
Yeah, I
wouldn't surprise me about that. Yeah.
By the way,
it'd be hilarious if he played for the Jets and just pulled a Favre.
That would be really funny.
He's so different too. He mentioned on the Pat McAfee show that he's going on vacation, I think, next week, in a place where they don't have electricity on purpose. It's like some kind of weird. They call it like a dark room retreat, and there's no electricity. There's only running water, I think, for 2 hours during the day. And you're in complete darkness, and all these weird phenomenon to this living arrangement, and you do it for 2 weeks, and it's supposed to purify your mind. And apparently he's able to do that.
It also stimulates what's it called that he takes? It's supposed to stimulate that drug that he takes.
The ayahuasca. I mean,
I forget.
The one thing I will say about him is at least he lives his lifestyle. 100% respect that. You can think it's weird. I can think it's weird, but he seems to be about that life. And that's the one thing I do kind of like about it. And that's why I think he will go to the Jets, because they were the first team mentioned. He kind of flirted with them. So if I was going to take that lane.
Well, Hackett's there.
Yeah, he just seems like a guy that sticks to his ideas. You could call it stubborn. You could call it, he's convicted, but he seems very committed to his ideas.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with being stubborn in most situations, to be
right.
honest.
So, lastly, where does Hopkins end up this season?
I have one to bounce off of this right after. I think he ends up with the highest bidder, to be honest.
I think the best fit is the Ravens.
I think I see, looking at this, Patriots are still top. That's criminal in my opinion. There's no way he's going to the Patriots with Bill O'Brien. It's just not happening.
Think about the Ravens though. Like, you want to like get Lamar Jackson back in your good graces. Give him an actual receiver. Don't play with this. Like, we're gonna draft you one. We're just gonna go buy you one of the best hands in the NFL.
In
Here's
NFL
how.
history.
I'm still on. He can totally go to Cleveland. They have the money. You could just stack that team with Watson and Cooper and now Hopkins. Like, that wouldn't reunite them. Like, that wouldn't be horrible.
Yep.
It's Keenan Allen. Do you think he's a Charger next year?
Yes.
Because I know they're stuck. Well, not stuck, but it's like they have to cut Allen, Mack. They have to cut someone. Or do people really need to be generous with their pockets?
Yeah, I think he will.
They have to cut one at least. But then if they only cut one of like Mack, Allen, or I believe it's like Gerald Everett, I think they need to cut one, or else they'll just barely be able to sign draft picks to contracts.
Could they essentially?
Or like the real thing is, like, if they don't cut those guys, they have no way to move or make the team any different.
Yeah, but could they just like restructure in a way, like creatively?
That's the thing. They would have to. They could restructure a few contracts.
Right.
They could, and they might, but
they only got like 2 years to do it before you got to pay Herbert.
Yeah, my thing is, it's a lot easier to replace a receiver like Allen than it is to replace a pass rusher like Mack. Because Allen's at the end, and he's already been so injury prone. Mack isn't particularly injury prone, and he's still very, very good.
Now, we've wanted to talk basketball, but we've been stuck in the NFL. So I thought for the end of football, for the beginning of our basketball talks, we would actually look at the end of the cross sports specials to kind of prime people for our basketball knowledge. They have things like Travis Kelce's receptions against John Morant's assist versus Boston. Stuff like this just seems silly to me. Do you guys see any advantage to betting some of this stuff?
I see an advantage for the prop being there for DraftKings. I
would definitely take the Kelce side of that.
I would take the Kelce side of it too.
Are they giving Ja the favorite?
Yeah,
they are.
They
But
say
Kelce should Ja does not like always get you double-digit assists. Kelce will definitely get you 10 receptions.
Yeah, I agree with you. And recently he's averaged 9. So you're basically saying that Ja has to get at least
Ja's got to get a double-double that day against Boston. I don't know if he does that.
Well, let's say he at least has to get 8, because I don't think there's many scenarios where Kelsey's under 8 receptions in this game. I did bet what was it, Pascal Siakam, because I thought Siakam had a chance to be traded, but I don't.
That's okay. Hold on. I just saw a very strange one. Tatum assist or Goddard receptions. How do you not go with Goddard receptions there? And why is Tatum the favorite?
Yeah,
I mean, there's a very likely scenario that Tatum only gets 3 assists a game.
I'm taking that one.
There's a kind of a likely scenario that Goddard only gets like 4 catches. So, like, are you willing to risk if Tatum gets 5 assists?
You're right, because I just pulled it up, and Devontae Smith has averaged like 8 catches in the playoffs. Gov might actually be right on that.
Like, that's kind of close, at least.
Okay, but I
don't think Tatum can blow it out of the water, so it's close. But with the way Philly works, I don't know if Goddard's like, he's not like Kelce where he's guaranteed to get me like 8+ catches. He could totally only get 5 targets, and then he's got to catch everything.
But I like this one, and Donnie can bet me. Jason's not really known for as like a dominant 3-point shooter, right?
I could see him making 3 threes though. Like, consistently making 3 threes is not beyond it.
How many field goals do you think Bucker gets though?
1.
One?
I don't think the Chiefs are kicking many field goals this game.
I don't think either team are really kicking too many. Like, I feel like aggression.
Here's an interesting one. LeBron's points, rebounds, and assists against Jalen Hurts rushing yards.
Rush attempts. Oh, no, it is rush yards. Sorry.
It is rushing yards, yeah.
Let's see. If Jalen Hurts is running, then you're talking like 50, 60, and he blows it out of the water. If he's not running, you're talking like 18, and LeBron blows it out of the water.
Yeah.
I don't think like this is either one guy blows it out or the other guy blows it out. It will not be close.
Siakam points versus Kansas City points.
This is the one I took. So I have this one, total points. I took total points in the Super Bowl.
Siakam's points versus the first half. Total points.
I took total points in the whole Super Bowl at plus 100.
Oh, second one. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have this one.
I think it's more likely the Chiefs score 35 than Siakam scores 35.
The reason I took it was because I thought there was a chance Siakam was traded. He wasn't. So I lost on that. They're playing Detroit. Detroit basically gave up on the year. They want Benyama. So
Oh God! Don't.
there's a chance.
Did you see what happened tonight? Oh my God! No, you didn't.
I
Okay,
did
we'll
not
talk later.
see it.
We'll talk later. Oh Jesus! Was it
I-
triple overtime? It might have been triple overtime. I don't
I
know.
didn't
Stop.
see it, but hopefully you're talking about a game I stacked in DraftKings.
If it was San Antonio, Detroit.
Hey, I have some San Antonio. I have 2 San Antonio guys. So hopefully that's good. I got to look now. But we're going to wrap up the show with that, guys. I did enjoy having us. We went a bit longer, but it was the Super Bowl. It was the grand finale. Hopefully you guys enjoy. We'll have a show immediately after where we can review some of our quick hitters.
Yep.
Good night, guys. Thanks for joining me.
Peace out. Enjoy the
Bye,
weekend.
everyone.
Glad
See you
to have
after
you
the
back in
Super
the
Bowl.
house, Donnie. You were missed, buddy. Good
Great
night.
to have you.
Let's see.